Hey everybody, this is your art appreciation teacher Dottie Love, and today our video is going to be about the themes of art. Basically, the themes of art are subject matter, categories of subject matter that you can place different types of art in, different types of art images, and they are very broad categories. And in fact, many art appreciation professors and books define the themes of art in different ways. And I finally just had to kind of cobble together my own ideas about it. They go very parallel to the themes that are in the book Living with Art. So it's religion, politics, the ideal, art of everyday life, the natural world, fantasy, and art about art. So, like I said, you can categorize all pieces of art into roughly these categories, but it's really subjective, and the themes of one art are not naturally visible and perceptible in this one category. One piece of art could flop over and show the characteristics of another theme. You may look at my choice of themes and find something and go, man, it's not like that at all. So that's just the way it is. Everything about art is personal, and we simply have to do the best with what we've got, with what we see. First thing that we're going to look at is Stonehenge, a construction from, 3000 BC? I got to look at my notes. 3100 BC, it's what it's thought. The stones appear, they've been carbon dated and things like that. The thing about Stonehenge, of course, nobody knows about any of these purposes that it was created, but it's believed to have been created as an object of veneration, of spiritual belief. There are some hints to that, some justifications that scholars have made. For one thing, the pillars that you see are made of a certain type of rock that is not around the area. The area was in southern England. It did not have that type of rock. The closest deposition of that kind of rock was like hundreds of miles away. Much conjecture has been done discussing how possibly they got the stones across these long distances with very primitive methods. The methods that they used seem to be in a the process that was used to move these stones is thought to have been part of the reverent behavior, because it was so very arduous to move these stones such a long distance. Then, in order to erect the stones in a vertical position, they had to dig huge holes that they could then tip the stones into the monoliths and then fill them all in with dirt and make them stand up. They had to draw out the plan to utilize the stones in the order that they had decided they need to be in. The stones are pretty equidistant. Of course, many of the stones have fallen down, things like that. And so it's only just conjecture that people can decide, what these could have been. The upright stones like this, have been connected and joined by flat stones all the way around. And this type of construction, where you have a vertical and you have a horizontal like that, that's called post and lintel. And it's the most basic type of construction that there is. You look on doors and things like that. At certain times of the year, that also lends credence to the ceremonial purpose of Stonehenge. At certain times of year, sunlight will come through and project through a hole in the stones, a space in the stones, and fall directly upon the structure that is in the middle of the rings, which is thought to be an altar piece, an altar stone. And this is times like summer solstice, winter solstice, times like that would be very special to the culture that was there at the time. Another thing that we don't often ever see is far around this circular structure is a large, very wide circular depression dug into the ground all around it. And this is called a barrow. And what was in the barrow is many, many, many grave sites of people of that era. Another reason to conjecture that it had some ceremonial religious purpose. Is an altarpiece from Northern Europe, and you can see it's created in 3 different parts. Large part in the center, and then 2 sides. This was because the 2 sides were hinged so that they could close over the central image, which was the most important. And these were used in churches as the priest would tell stories about certain certain saints and holidays and all those kind of things. Remember that people of that time, nobody could read or write. So by telling the story and then by showing images of it, the people could understand what it was about. And like I said, the altar pieces would be hidden until these special days that there would be a sermon given about these particular situations. Next image we'll look at is a Gothic cathedral. These were about 1000 AD. They were created in extremely ornate fashions, as if the cathedrals were meant to be the focus of the religion of that area. And the people of the town that donated to the building of the church, the more money they had, the more dramatic the cathedral could be. Oh, you wouldn't believe the things that were in these cathedrals, and you wouldn't believe the effort that went into building them. They took years and years and years. This Gothic cathedral, you can see the inside is very, very tall. It has a lot of gold paint, and the walls are pierced with windows. Nobody could do windows because they needed the solid walls so that they could support the weight of the roof and all those kind of things. So these window openings were a really big new development in architecture. And they're filled with gigantic stained glass panels that the sun would shine through, and again, telling stories of different biblical events. Next, we have a representation of the Buddha that is the focus of the Buddhist faith. Buddha is the embodiment of humility and respect and the devotion a religious person should give to the Buddha and to the Buddhist faith. Buddhism was a very simple religion in that you tried to be the best person that you could be. You tried not to desire things, possessions, things like that. And it required a lot of self-sacrifice. Buddha was always done in precious metals, in this seated position, showing that he had reached nirvana, which was the highest level of consciousness. And he's usually holding his hand up in a tribute to the people that are seeing him. Next, we have an amazing thing. This is also from the Buddhist faith, but it is kind of a specialty of Tibetan and Nepalese monasteries. This was a sand painting. And the monks, 10, 12, 20, a lot of them, we'll just say, would get together and sprinkle colored sand in a certain design. They would kneel down, sprinkle this sand, and form this very, very intricate, it's a mandala. It's an object of concentration. You would stare into the mandala and try to empty your mind of any thoughts whatsoever so that you could more easily commune with God. They would work on these for days and days and days. Then, in just a moment, they'd sweep it with a broom. Gone. It wasn't the finished product that was important. It was the process of doing it. The great labor and patience that it took would color was more important than looking at a physical representation that was a painting or a sculpture that you could look at forever. You could walk by and ignore it, things like that. These monks were proving their devotion to God by the lengthy process that they used to create this. The next image we have is a representation of the Hindu faith of Shiva, one of the major gods in Hinduism. Hinduism is really strange in that it does not worship one embodiment. It is multi-theistic in that there are many, many, many important personages from back in their history that are venerated. And this was, like I said, one of the big ones. This is Shiva, and Shiva is a protector. And in this, he's shown as Shiva, the destroyer of bad things. Another symbol of the Hinduistic beliefs is the veneration of cows. They believe that cows created the world out of a swirling sea of milk, and that everything sprang from that sea of milk. That's one of the reasons that they worship the cow as the mother of all creation. Here's a real different view of a religion. The Protestant example of a simple white church in a meadow, in an enclosure. We're all familiar with that. little tiny, either painted or in a state of decay. But what's funny is that you look at it and you see the Twin Towers that are projecting in front of the entrance to the church. You see, for one thing, there's complete symmetry. One side is identical, mirror image of the other side. Symmetry. Symmetry gives a sense of stability.